Hi guys, and welcome to the July webinar. And you'll obviously notice we're not in our normal air-conditioned podcast room. We are in a baking hot workshop, Simon.
Yeah, it's our podcast on the road on tour. When we made the decision, it was a lot cooler.
It's
Yeah, a little
what,
bit
about
warm.
32 degrees today?
Yep, and then we're going to put a car on the dyno and make it even warmer.
Lovely, great. So why are we down in the workshop? What have we got planned?
Well, it wasn't just obviously to stretch our legs. We wanted to take everyone through the KESS3 data logging. So to actually show that really cool feature on there, its capabilities, not just data logging in terms of confirming, oh, we've got good power from the car, but the diagnostic benefits of it as well.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better to do than stick it on a Golf 8R that we've got here, our Katana Fire package, and take you through how we would approach the data logging, how it works, and how you can use it to best sort of verify your tuning and actually verify the car's even working correct in the first place before you start tuning.
I mean, I'm a big fan of data logging. I'm really interested to see what you've got lined up for us today. Before we do that, I just want to touch on something that's big news in the industry, and we touched on it last week with a live podcast. That
live breaking 9 o'clock news in the morning. The
Magic Motorsport Unlock.
Yeah, who saw that coming?
Wow, I mean, this is just changing the industry, but it hasn't all quite gone swimmingly, has it? Where are we with this update?
We'll know it's reverse engineered technology. This is trying to effectively unlock these ECUs. It's not a simple case of taking a resistor off a board or just clicking a boot pin and programming a patch to it.
If it was easy, we'd all have been doing it a long time ago.
Yes. What we're finding is you've got to have a little bit of knowledge and experience about how to connect to these ECUs.
Yeah.
This is almost going back really about 25 years.
To rewind for me just a second, this is an update that means anybody and everybody with a Magic Motorsport tool can do these locked ECUs that we've been sending all over the world, but it's not just a bench tune and it's not just a service mode tune or a boot tune. We're actually removing bits from the ECU.
Really easy to see 1 millimeter resistor on some of these ECUs.
Right.
That's to be taken off. It's basically a signal resistor. Has to be taken off to enable us to do the patch. So the patch, not going into too much detail, is effectively spamming the ECU to try and find an opening to click a little button inside to say, the door is open, you can now program me. Taking the resistor off, not so much of a challenge. Putting a 1 millimeter resistor back on is a challenge. We've already seen on some of the forums and things, sort of the nightmare stories of people going, I've lost the resistor, what do I do?
I did see that.
You find a replacement because you're not going to find that 1 millimeter resistor on your workshop floor somewhere. We do recommend that you follow some really sort of important basic steps, and we're putting a training video together this week. We'll get released soon, showing you the best practices on there and some of the extra steps you can take to sort of mitigate the risks. I will add on there is a huge range of ECUs, but as we know with normal tuning, just because an ECU is supported for tuning doesn't mean the specifics of that firmware software combination may be supported at that point. So you might run into an ECU that unlocks MD1 CS003, really popular with the PSAs. You might unlock 10 of them and then the 11th one doesn't unlock. You've done everything right, you've followed all the steps, doesn't unlock. Send the logs to Magic, they will look at it and then work to make an update and a fix for that particular one. But
I was going to say, I'm laughing internally because in the morning I've got this big tub of vitamin tablets and they're about 6 mil long, some of these. I've put one out and it shoots off across the top and it's gone. And that's like that big. 1 millimeter resistor.
1 millimeter. We have a digital, basically almost like a microscope that we have over the ECU, and it is almost like sort of open heart surgery. You're looking at the screen trying to move your tools around to connect to it.
I'm getting the impression a lot of masters with premises and stable environment are probably going to be offering this to their mobile networks. It might not be an on-the-road type job.
It's definitely something, I said, with the setup we've got, and you'll see it when we do the training video and release that in the next few days, that it really does need to be in a nice, dry, clean, stable, so not in the back of a van really, if you can help it, environment, because the method and the connection that's needed on there, it has to be very precise to get it to actually work. And more so, I said, putting that resistor back on, it can't be there or thereabouts. It needs to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise, you will have a car that won't start.
But it still feels like industry-changing news. I mean, we've gone from no option to mail it to the other side of the planet option to now actually, with a little bit of care and maybe a little bit of extra equipment, anybody and everybody being able to do these ECUs. That's got to be a huge improvement.
It's massive. And I said the vehicles have been released. We already know there's the VAG group, there's got Lamborghinis, BMWs, we've got the PSA, we've got Hyundai, Kias, a whole range of Fiat Ducato, so things like the Landini tractors. They're the most one of the most commercially used and widespread used ECUs at the moment, that Iveco ECU. is available now as well. And literally, I think it was the last couple of days, we've seen more BMWs released,
More
Porsche
released, yeah.
and again, some more the Korean engines released as well. So this is the Bosch MD1 MG1 ECUs. It's not every single one of them, just to be clear. So Mercedes, we're still waiting on an update.
Yeah,
for
I saw
those.
Golf, we're still
Waiting
couldn't
for
do
those,
yet.
yeah. The brand new 8.5R.
Still locked.
We've still got locked ECUs on there. Slightly different ECU, SEMA still,
Changing,
but
it's
we
kind
just
of coming, it feels
Yeah.
like. Okay, and the plan is we will have a completely free to the world training course
Yep.
produced in the next couple of days that will show everybody how to do
take
these
you through the
ECUs.
steps, the tools and equipment that you use. to
And if
make
it
sure
looks
it's
too
done properly.
scary, send the ECU to us or a master who can do it in a safe, controlled
So
environment.
you'll find that the guys have been in the industry a little while, self starting to grey in places, who've been around for the soldering days, the old chip tuning things, will probably have those tools and the skill set to sort of do it. They might have to dust off a few of the pieces of equipment, but it is sort of like the old days of chip tuning. You're taking an ECU off, you're soldering things back on. It's just that all the things are very small compared to the chips we used to work on.
Exciting, exciting times. But no further ado, we've got a mission.
Yep.
Data logging. You're going to jump in, you're going to take it for a drive. Let's see what we've got.
We're going to jump in, we're going to put the aircon on.
We're going to put the aircon on.
Take it for a drive.
All right, cool.
Squeeze in there.
Okay, hopefully you've now got us inside the car. Let's get some windows up and some air conditioning on. So Simon, I think probably, well, we all know there are thousands and thousands of KESS3 systems out there. What percentage do you think of owners actually use the data logging function?
I think actually probably quite few, rephrase it a different way, not that many people are using it because I don't think they realise the power and the advantage of it.
It's quite new, isn't it? It came out, what, about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, it's relatively new. I mean, some owners will be familiar with just turn the traction control off on the car. Some owners will be familiar with the Powergate news that came out recently for data logging. That may have refreshed the memory of some people. There are obviously some other tools on the market that do data logging, your diagnostic tools.
Yeah. Autotuner, of course, already runs data logging.
A lot of people, the Volkswagen Audi group, of course, we're very familiar with things like VAGCOM. So the VCDS, and that'll be their sort of go-to for it, which is great. But you get a Ford Ranger come in, you get a Porsche, or not a Porsche, but you get a Ferrari or Fiat or something come in. Your VAGCOM's not designed for that, it's not going to work with it. So do you end up grabbing 15 different diagnostic data logging tools? Or
coverage of KESS is huge.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that the application list here is massive. And we're doing obviously testing on this when it was in its beta form, as it were, and when it sort of first came out. A lot of vehicles you can actually get into through almost like a generic protocol. So even if your vehicle isn't listed on the KESS3, you can try one of the data logging protocols.
And it might still pull up the data.
And if it can pull up some of the generic PIDs, some of the generic channels, you can actually get in there and start logging. So yes, it might say it's under a Ferrari 430 and you're actually working on a Ford Escort. Okay, Fiesta, probably something a bit newer, but it will still go in there typically and pull up some of the data on there. So it's a really powerful piece of software. I will say on there, and to be absolutely fair, for those guys that are doing sort of your stage 3, stage 4 tuning, and you're into very specific channel logging that you need to look for. So things like, okay, you're looking at the injector pulse widths and things, very, very specific things. There may be dedicated data loggers that are going to do what you need.
Yeah.
Things like Vehicle, which is a well-known one in the industry, of course, and others, of course, available. But what this is going to do is this is going to provide you with that baseline data logs. Even if you've checked the car for diagnostics and it's clear of faults, you can now take it on a safe road test if you haven't got access to a dyno.
Yeah.
Look at the logs afterwards and actually see, well, hang on, it was requesting 1 bar of boost, but I only got 0.6.
Yeah.
There's an issue somewhere, not enough that it's flagging a fault code, but it's going to save you time putting a tuning file on the car and then going, oh, it hasn't delivered what I expected. Well, actually, there was an underlying issue. Remember, fault codes are only that final indication that there's actually an issue with the vehicle. Data logs are the ones that are going to allow you to actually see what's going on with the car itself. Okay? And he says, and you can tell it's so hot, even the AC doesn't want to turn on. So, he's found the button for it. There we go.
Ooh. Ooh. Okay.
Quick smiles, the aircon's just come on in the car.
So this is available on both slave and master systems.
This is available on both the slave and the master systems.
Again, I think a lot of masters know this, but I'm not sure so many slaves know that this is a completely free function that can really help them diagnose a problem. And the fact that it's also on the Powergate means you can do this with a customer hundreds of thousands
Well,
of miles away.
Yeah, remotely as well. So even if you tune something in your shop, the customer's driven 3-4 hours home, and now there's it's doing something weird, nothing to do with your tuning, but it's just having a weird bit of an issue or peace of mind. Customer can go with a Powergate, or you can ship one out, plug in, as long as they sync it to the car so it can read that particular vehicle. And that is the subtle difference between the Powergate and the KESS3. The Powergate doesn't need to be paired to the vehicle. You can get the exact same data logs that you can get through the KESS3 itself. So
okay, so if I've got a KESS3, where do I start? What have you got to show us?
well, the first thing we're going to do is, if you've got a KESS3, obviously you're going to go and select your vehicle. So in this case, we've obviously connected to it previously. We're going to select our Volkswagen Golf 8, 2-litre R motion on there, and we're going to hit continue. You'll be familiar, obviously the default option that comes up is your connections for tuning the vehicle. This one's got TCU, Dyno drive, but we're interested in data logger. So we're going to click on the data logger. We can see at the side we've got the functions, so it's going to send to the dashboard once it's completed a log. So that's really handy. You're not trying to look around on your computer for your logs. It automatically uploads them to your Alientech dashboard. Obviously record data on there as well, and it's going to give us the view option. Tells us the protocol number, and there is a manual, but we'll look at the manual in a second when we progress through. So as we click continue, and there we go. Do you want to see the manual? So this is going to be fairly straightforward. It's going to give you some tips, obviously making sure that the car is obviously running. You've obviously got connection to the OBD. It's going to tell you some of the approximate pickup times on there, the cable that you need, in this case, generic OBD cable, and then some extra information. Now we're going to go through this in a little bit of detail now anyway, so I'm not going to read this out verbatim line by line. But effectively, the more things that you log, the slower the pickup rate is going to be on the data logger, and that's universal, all data loggers. If you want to data log every single channel, the refresh rate for all of that data is going to be a bit slower, so you won't get as many pickups. The graph won't be as smooth and linear. Really cool feature on here is the use of the GPS inside of the tool itself. So what this will enable you to do is actually track the vehicle. So, I mean, track in terms of track the trace of the data logs. So when you're moving around, you're taking it for a log, and the customer's saying, well, it's doing this certain thing on a Thursday afternoon on this big hill when I'm going home. You can put the KESS in there, or you put your Powergate in there. You can data log the vehicle and actually look at that GPS trace and go, actually, yes, I can see halfway up the hill, this is happening. It will show you altitude. It will show you approximate position on the map. Obviously, you need a bit of a clear sky. If it's a middle of a thunderstorm, you might not get the best GPS connection. But it doesn't inhibit you from doing the logging.
Yeah, sure.
So if the GPS isn't working, you can still continue. So it's going to ask you to turn the engine off, on, and press continue, and it will try and communicate now with the vehicle. So it's gone through its first CAN check, got signal pre-acquisition. It sends a log file, even though it hasn't done anything yet in terms of our view. It's already uploaded a log to say, I've done this process, this is what's happened. So if you ever had any issues connecting, Alientech, of course, can look at that and see what's gone on there, maybe a poor connection or something's interfering with the OBD port. Something to make note, if you do have some of those anti-theft devices connected to things like the OBDs, that will prevent you often from doing the data logging. So just make sure there's nothing interrupting the signal. So we're straight in now. We've got a label. I'm just going to call this demo on here. It's pulled up the VIN on the car. If it doesn't pull the data, you can put data in there, of course, as well. And you've got 3 tags. Now, the tags you can label afterwards, but what the tags are, you'll see in a moment when we get into the data logging. As you're doing the data log, if something strange happens on the car, you get a misfire, the boost suddenly spikes or drops, you can just press the enter key and it'll put a little flag at that point in the data log. So you haven't got to go and stop and try and look back at the data as you're still running the car on the dyno, hit the enter button if you see anything strange. If it's been logged on the road, obviously the passenger is in control of the laptop, you're driving safely under road conditions, just get them to press the enter button and then it gives you a quick marker to go back and look at after in the logs. So for now, we're just going to press continue. And we can see on the screen a whole range of information that's popped up. In the top left, of course, we've got our Golf 8 information, but we've also got a vehicle status. So we haven't ran any sort of diagnostic with the KESS, just we haven't looked for DTCs or anything, but it's telling us the number of DTCs stored. It's telling us any sort of mill lamps or anything activated on there. It's a good way to sort of, you can see on there, since the last DTC's cleared, 4,200 kilometers. So good, healthy car.
That's really quite useful information.
It is a really good stat to have.
I'll tell you what, that's really useful. I'm being presented with a car for tuning. Let's be honest, it's not the most healthy of cars. The customer's in the car park. He's cleared all the fault codes as they do just before they bring it into you. That would show that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's going to give you a quick mark on there for the number of DTCs stored in there as well. And remember with the KESS3, it's one of those things, again, often overlooked. It does have a DTC scan and clear function in there.
I would do that every time I was going to tune a car.
Yeah.
You know, just to know what the history of it is. When were the fault codes last given? Was it 5 minutes ago or was it 5,000 miles ago?
Yeah,
interesting.
It's just another thing that really helps you out. It means you haven't got to have 10 pieces of equipment plugged in, one after another on the car. This gives you a quick indication. If you do need to go into in-depth diagnostics, the transmission, the ABS, then of course a full-blown diagnostic is obviously recommended.
Nice.
But this gives you a quick snapshot, especially if you're out on the road, working mobile, for example, or you're just getting into the industry to start with. It's another helpful piece of
very nice information.
Equipment and options in there. So on the right-hand side, we've got our signals. So first of all, we've got a little search box up here. We can type in things like pressure or fuel or Lambda, and it will highlight them in the list for us. It will shortlist them as a normal search box works. But importantly, we've got a little laptop sort of looking computer icon here and 044. That's telling us we have currently 0 out of the 44 channels that have been shown in the list selected. So at the moment, we're logging nothing. 0 selected.
But you've got an option of choosing up to 44.
Up
and as
to
you
44
said earlier,
on there.
The more you choose, potentially the slower the data will load.
Now, you might find that when you pick up all 44 on here, the acquisition speed, as you can see on the screen, 100 milliseconds, doesn't actually change on this particular car.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of combination of down to your laptop and things, but it's actually the car itself is the real sort of control for this. So if the car hasn't got a quick signal rate, if it's struggling to get the data out of there, you put 5-6 channels in, you might start to see that refresh rate drop. So
you can do this live so you can get a feel for where it's going and how much impact you're having on the speed.
Also, we've got the little eyeball icon there, 05. We can log 44 channels, but we can also display in real time on the screen 5 channels live for us.
Yeah.
So it's not going to show us all 44 channels with graphs going. That's what we look at afterwards to the dashboard to see those trace data points. But we do have to select at least one live channel to look at.
Yeah.
So if we don't select that and we try and continue, it will tell us you've got to go back and select one.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things on here, as we can see. We've got 44 channels, Lambda injection timing in milliseconds, so we can actually log the injectors themselves. Great for some of your GDI engines, direct injection, especially when you're starting to push stuff stage 2, maybe stage 3.
Yeah.
My injectors struggling to keep up. Rail pressure, Lambda. So again, all that's stored within the fueling area.
Yeah.
And in a very efficient way, similar to how they do with their ECM drivers, they break the logs down into certain areas. So I can see engine, and I've got my ignition timing, retard, misfires, etc., on there, camshaft, charge air pressure. Now these, depending on what you're tuning, will depend on what logs you need to take, what information you need to look at. But it's a turbo car, so let's look at our target and actual boost pressure. That's one of the key indicators if the car's working well. If it's got any sort of boost leaks or something on there, you'll see probably your target is really quite high or where it needs to be, and your actual is sort of floating around really quite low, maybe even just borderline under boost, not enough to throw the fault code, but enough that the car feels a little bit flat and lethargic.
Got you.
And as we carry on down, again, misfire counters, we've got engine block coolant temps, so our coolant temps on there, torque, target, we've got our engine torque on there. So with our PPF cars or OPF or GPFs, you'll see a DPF pop up. Oh, hang on a minute, this isn't a diesel, this is gasoline. It's the default naming for those channels. So again, diagnostic tools are up as a $5,000 to $10,000 or pounds. You will also see them often registered as DPF in there, even though it's on a gasoline car.
Yeah.
But again, another useful thing to look at, especially with that's happening in many places over the world, but UK and Europe with the mandate for Euro 6 gasoline cars with the OPF, GPF. Yeah. Good thing to check on there, because if that's gone a long, long time since it last regenerated, then you're probably not going to get full power on the dyno, and it may adversely affect your logs. We've got gear, we've got pedal position as well. Engine RPM, obviously a really important one when we're doing any data logging.
Yeah.
You might see a perfect curve and then a sudden drop off in the data. Could be fuel, could be boost, could be anything. If you don't know what RPM that's at, you could be chasing a bit of a ghost in the software. We've got EGTs as well, another good channel to log.
I always like to see EGTs. They're very useful, particularly on a highly tuned car. If you're moving to stage 2 and particularly stage 3, keeping your eye on EGTs is really useful.
Yeah. I've put ignition timing on there as well. So it gives us ignition timing for cylinder 1, because that's what it uses for its overall ignition timing measurements. But you'll notice when I activate this as a live channel to maximize my 5 out of 5, I cannot now select any of the others. So if I want to change the channel that's viewable, I need to deselect one of them to then select another channel on there.
Understood.
And then things like mass airflow, ambient air temperature, lots of data on there.
You feel your boots, are you doing all right?
I'm going to click a few of them, yeah. So I've got cat temperature and absolute load. So I put 12 out of 44 on there. just to show you an example of some of the data that's
And they are typical ones that you would choose when you were tuning.
Yeah, I mean, these cover the essentials that we're looking for. As I said, if you're going into very specific changes on the car, or for example, vehicle
Or if
speed
you're
sensor,
problem hunting, you
if
might
you're
choose something
problem hunting, looking at diagnostics, you're trying to understand a specific operating load and condition. So you might look at vehicle speed sensor to see, actually, does that match up with my dyno? Does that match up with the logs I'm expecting?
Yeah.
Customer says there's an issue at 50 miles an hour or 80 kilometers an hour. Of course, it's in metric. Then we're looking at the car, and actually we can see it's not at 80, it's at 56 or 76. Also quite useful things like speed limiters.
Okay.
So if you're looking at a speed limiter, obviously in controlled conditions, really recommend on a dyno for this. You might often get customer says, can you remove my speed limiter? It's at about 120-ish kilometers an hour, because that's roughly what the display says. Looking through the logs, you can see actually it's 118 kilometers an hour. So you're not looking for the wrong data in the ECU.
Gotcha.
So it's a simple thing, but it can actually be really quite effective on there.
Okay.
So we've got that, we can hit continue. One quick thing we can look at, of course, is the load presets at the top. So we can actually save this as a preset if we want to.
Okay.
So we haven't got to come back through and select all of these channels or specific ones we need next time.
Yeah.
You might have logged a Ford Transit or Porsche, whatever else in the meantime. You come back to your project vehicle, you're developing packages and upgrades, hit the load preset, and you've got all your channels there ready to log. So again, back-to-back tests, you always log in the same things. You don't want to do a test and suddenly, oh, I forgot boost pressure, and now it's too hot and I can't run the car for an hour or two. So we're going to press continue. And I love this about the data logging on here. Immediately, I've got data displaying on the screen. Now, granted, most of the channels are showing similar values because the car's under no load. Our charge air pressure, desired and target is going to be showing similar. And our engine RPM is sort of graphing along that same line. But if you look at the green data, if we just move the mouse around it, the green data is our ignition timing. Now, at the moment, we've got no sort of graphical display. It's just showing us the live data on the graph. But on the left-hand side on the values, I can just run the car like this if I needed to. It's a quick sort of test on there. Run the car up, check, am I idling at what I expect? Yes, about 900 RPM, matches up with the car. When I'm at 1500 RPM, I can check the dyno synchronized with it. You can look at those 5 live channels there as well. You can also, and you can do this on the previous screen as well, you can actually go into the thresholds and change the thresholds for the logging. So for example, if you wanted to set your charge air pressure and say, well, relevant to my target, I want to set a flag, a warning if it exceeds 1.2 bar, you can set the threshold for that channel. Okay. So I want you to give me a minimum and maximum for the log here and here, flag on the screen when it exceeds that or when it drops below there. So again, gives you some extra operating parameters on there. You'll see on here we've got time left 2 minutes. It records in 2-minute bundles, if you like, 2-minute packages for the data. There's no limit on those 2-minute packages, so you can record, save the data, go straight into another run, record, save, and record, and save.
So you haven't selected record yet, so we're not recording at this time.
Correct, that's why we've still got our 2 minutes of recording available. And the little mark, as you can see, 0 of 3, because we're not recording, we haven't hit those flags yet.
Okay.
Once this is done, so when we start pressing record data, it's going to start obviously recording. At the end of the run, it's automatically going to save it to our Alientech dashboard. So it doesn't matter if you're a master or slave, you can use your Alien ID that you've used to register your tool and synchronize it yourself.
Sitting there waiting for you.
And there'll be a dashboard button we can press, it'll take us straight to it.
Okay.
So I think for now, what we're going to do is, I've got the traction off, the aircon is lovely as well, the aircon's on. We're going to run this up now, and a glamorous assistant who may or may not be in his shorts at the side of the dyno is going to press the start button for us. So the first run we're going to do is just a power sweep, your generic sort of dyno run on there. Just putting the car under load through a sweep of RPM. We're going to look at the logs for that, and then after that, we're going to go into effectively a sort of static test. We're going to hold the car at 40 miles an hour and simulate the diagnostic capabilities of this, so where you're loading the car at that sort of speed.
But we're going to start with a power run.
I'm going to start with the power run, the most sort of traditional thing that you'll see run on the dyno, and it's going to put the fan on. So we're going to just build the car up now. So we can see the data's running live on the screen, which is great, but I'm not going to press record until I'm in the right gear and at the right RPM, because I want to make sure that 2 minutes is definitely captured. And what I will do is stop talking during the log, because of course the car's going to be quite loud and we don't need my muffled microphone at the same time. So I'm just going to hit record data. They're going to press the start button on the dyno, then we're going to give it a run. Just pop bang a little bit, yes. And that's our parking sensor saying, warning, there is a fan in front.
I've had to crash into a large fan.
So I'm just going to put that back into park so it's a little bit quieter. And I'm going to press stop on the data there. There we go. So that's sending the log file now to our Alientech dashboard. So once that's completed, and again, depending on how long you've logged for, depends how long that's going to take to upload.
Yeah.
You'll notice, you may have seen just quick on the screen as we're running through, or you might have been listening to the car, I press the enter button.
Oh,
just to demonstrate a marker going down there. So we can see we've got the option there for marker 1. I can give that a name. So if I saw a misfire or something, I could put misfire in there. I can put example marker, whatever it needs to be. You can put a quick note in there.
Yeah.
And then send data. And that's going to attach that as part of the package to upload to the dashboard. Again, sending log, that doesn't mean your data log, that's actually logging the actions the tool's taken. So again, if something goes wrong, if it suddenly stops logging partway through, again, that data's captured. And it's usually that the old right foot or left foot has caught the cable during the run. You've knocked it out the OBD port. So one of those things, just be careful when you are setting this up that it obviously is in safe control conditions. So we've got on there some data. It's showing us acquisition completed. We've got our markers at 15 seconds. It's given us the name and it's shown us the channels that we logged on there. Now we could go straight into restart. That doesn't overwrite your log. That basically says, I want to log again. It takes us straight back into the logging. But for this, let's actually go to our dashboard. There we go. And we've got our data log on the screen. You can also download this acquisition as well. So you can download it. You can look at it in CSV format, for example. But you can see there's a lot of information on the screen. This was our main run here. So this is where we're sort of building up. Let's just move this down slightly. We ran for 48 seconds, but I'm going to adjust the bars on the bottom so that we can focus
that's nice.
on the actual dyno run. So again, this is really useful. Sometimes when you're looking at logs, you have to almost play through a second at a time or sample at a time, and you can't quite see everything. If you want to zoom in on some of the data, you can zoom in on the data there. And you've also got the ability, if there's too much information on the screen, just toggle the channels.
And you just knock them off.
You can knock the channels off. Don't want to see all of that. You can clear the information on there.
This is so powerful though. I mean, if you've got something like a misfire or a hiccup or whatever it might be, a bit of a flat spot, and you know it's happening at 3,000 RPM and you can hone in at 3,000 RPM and see what's doing what at that point. Wow, I mean, it's such a powerful tool.
Oh, massively, yeah. So let's look at some the information now. I'm not clicking anything, I'm just highlighting the mouse, just moving the mouse left and right. Not only is it showing me the data on the left-hand side of the screen for where the cursor's pointing, I know it sounds silly, but it's actually really useful here. There's a little coloured dot, a little ball that moves along.
So you make sure you're looking at the right line.
Where I'm looking at on the lines, because it can sometimes, when you're looking at a lot of data,
a
little bit confusing. Oh, at this point, is that the maximum value? It says 2.5 degrees at the side, but is that where I'm actually at? You can actually go through and see the data in a nice, clear way. So again, we can see ambient air temperature at the bottom, for example, 32 degrees. We did say it was quite warm in here. Humidity is high as well for those in warmer countries, and Australia thinking it's not that warm. It really is.
Yeah, but this is our 1 day of summer. Well, maybe it's our 3 days of summer.
But things like the ignition timing, so I can see obviously it's a hot day today. We expect the timing to be a little bit lower. So when I look at the channel, and if I'm not sure which one it is, toggle the channel on and off so you can see where it sits in your graph. And you can see as we start to build up, the timing starts to go quite low, down into the negatives. We get a little bit of positive just as we start to get to that point in the throttle range where we can give full throttle. And as we carry on up, we get to a maximum about sort of 4.5, 5 degrees. So something like the timing is a really, really crucial one that a lot of people will sort of overlook. It's really easy when people are making tuning files, they get into that habit of, well, I know old 1.8 turbo, I always put a couple of degrees of timing on. And they go and do the same on every gasoline turbo engine they work on. When you actually look at the logs, 4 degrees here, the table might be asking for 12 or 13 as standard. We're only seeing 4.5 here. Now, it doesn't mean there's a problem with the car. This is now where, as a tuner, you start to look at those factors that affect it. So our EGTs are starting to climb. So the ECU will be looking potentially at thermal management. It's quite warm outside, as we may have mentioned a couple of times. That's going to affect our intake air temperatures, which is ultimately going to affect the internal combustion temperatures and our EGTs. And guess what? Thermal management's kicking back in again. And of course, on the hotter day, boost isn't going to respond as quickly. So it's going to be, again, just in timing for things like that.
Okay, and then you can keep this for all posterity in your dashboard, and then if you get another similar car in, you do maybe the same set of mods, but it's not behaving itself, you can compare the two, I presume. Not obviously, I'm guessing overlap, but you could.
So you can toggle back and forth between them. Yeah. So for example, here I'm just going to go and look. I've gone to our tool and I can look at historical graphs that we've taken. I can go back into any of these. You've actually got the option of sharing them, things like your social media and so on. But let's be honest, for us as tuners, we want to look at the data. So we're going to look at it to the dashboard, which is one of the easiest ways. Or, as I said, you can download it as a CSV. So some people have their own graphic displays and they'll feed it into other programs that they're using. So you can download that way as well.
But if you are a tuner that's doing a set of mods regularly, for us it might be our Jag UF types, for example, where you're doing a stage 3 tune, supercharger upgrade, and then you've got one that doesn't behave, you can actually compare this full set of data logs to one that did behave, and you can spot the difference, I presume.
That is exactly it, and that's such a critical thing. Just because the files worked on 10, 15 cars in a row, it doesn't work on the next one. Don't just suddenly assume it's software. A lot of people will do that and go, well, the car didn't respond how I wanted.
Change the map.
I'll go and add a bit more here and make a change. Take it back to basics. If that file is proven, tried and tested and works, you need to look at the vehicle first.
Yeah,
you need to go back to stock.
We had one last week just like this, and I know you data logged it, and it turned out it didn't have our catalytic converters on it. It had somebody else's CATs, and the EGTs went through the roof. And we only knew that by data logging it.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So for example, the Jags that bore into much technical detail, they're typically quite low on the EGTs. All cars get hot as they start to spool up. That's a big V8 supercharged engine with a Harrop upgrade as well. It puts a lot of power through, but a lot of air, a lot of temperature builds up. Now the CATs will be in around about sort of 600 degrees on the first run, mid 7s on the second run, third run you're probably into the 8s, fourth or fifth run you're definitely into sort of the mid 800 degrees.
We were seeing over 1,000 on that one last week.
It was flying up, yeah. It was getting really, really hot. Now part of the problem was it's the ramp up rate as well on these things. So again, we speak about thermal management. That is the biggest thing on gasoline engines. If it sees the temperatures increasing before it even gets too hot, it's going to start dumping fuel, and then that can send you down a rabbit hole chasing other faults and issues. Is it a fueling issue? Is it misfiring? Data logs are going to give you that information. You still have to use a little bit of mechanical understanding and tuner's logic, but if you know the file you've made worked on 10 cars and doesn't on the 11th, what is different about that 11th car?
And if you don't have a dyno, you can do this on the road safely,
do
of course,
on the road as well, yeah.
doing it, but you can test and produce this sort of data.
Yeah, and the beauty thing is about the 2-minute timer as well is if you haven't even got a passenger, it is recommended to have one. As long as your laptop's secure, you can start the recording.
Then we are
2 minutes. Stop. You haven't got to press stop at the end. It will automatically stop when it gets to the end of that 2 minutes. It's a really, really powerful piece of software. We've spoken a little bit about sort of the data logging, some the power curve there. Obviously, if you let the vehicle coast down, then you can see the coast down data as well. So you might have a car that's running a little bit too rich, a little bit lean. You're trying to put pops and bangs on, overrun. We have a lovely course on Remap 101 for that. You can now data log and check the vehicle's doing what you expect by looking at your EGTs, looking at your timing on the overrun. Well, set it to minus 20 degrees, but it's only showing -7. Or I missed the map. You can go back in there and check the data because the data logs are going to give you that information.
Nice. What else do we need to cover?
So we've done that. So let's look at it again from a little bit of a diagnostic point of view. We'll minimize this down. We're going to go back into the test. We'll leave the same channels on there as well, but we'll show something a little bit different now. Now this is combining the advantage of having a dyno, or if you've got a steep, long, consistent hill. If your customer's reporting an issue at a certain speed or certain load point, this isn't just about full sweep tests. I mean, we can see live data while we're idling now. So if we jump into, and he's got it ready on the screen for us as well.
Very good.
So Ben's already on form. He's got the next test ready. We're going to set it up. We're going to go to 40 miles an hour, and we're going to hold at constant speed and change the loading on the car. So we get a different type of graph. So we can see again how this can be useful from a diagnostic point of view, trying to find faults with a vehicle. Now, of course, we've got the advantage of the dyno. We can hold it exactly 40 miles an hour with different loading, but the same on the road.
Yeah.
It's doing this at this point. It's not just about full sweep power tests. Have it in third gear, drive around that RPM point, that speed point for your 2 minutes of logging, and go back and see what you can see.
And if it does it, you hit the enter button.
Hit the enter button as soon as it does that weird little hiccup, misfire, cough, makes a weird whistling noise, whatever it is, hit the button. You've got the marker to then go back and look at.
What is not to like about this?
So we will put it back into drive. Our traction's off, aircon's on, check. And we're going to just build the car up again now. We shall turn the parking sensors off. So I'm just going to get it up into probably third gear here. And I'm going to press record. Are you ready with the exit button? Start to sport up. So we can see now throttle. Putting the car under load. So this isn't now trying to get the maximum figures. This is seen is the vehicle holding constantly what we expect it to do.
So you're driving against resistance on the dyno under hard load.
And we can see all of our data.
That is such a powerful diagnostic tool.
All the data's nice and smooth. So I'm just going to, I'll say quietly slow down as it pops. Slow down. I'm going to press stop on the run and I'll put it into neutral. And we'll go and look at the data there. So this is going to give us a completely different type of curve now. So instead of that big sweeping curve, we're going to have that constant lines. And again, with this, we can look at temperature, so the change in temperature when the car's under load. If you do things like motorsport and stuff, you might be under full throttle under long periods of time. Let's put it into park. And we go to our dashboard. And we've got very different curves now. We've got these sort of flat lines as we did those two sort of sample tests. Just going to zoom in on the map. There we go. So you can see just as we get a little bit closer, it starts to spread the data on the screen to make it even more sort of pronounced for us. We can see as we're looking across on the left-hand side, I'm just going to toggle the RPM so you can see that line. The RPM initially spikes up as we put it under load, comes down and settles, so around 3,600 RPM all the way through, which is great. I'm just going to turn that one off for now. I'll show you the pedal. So we can see we're at 100% pedal, so full load through that run. Let's clear some of these out. And EGTs, so we can see EGTs 500, 600, comes up to the point where we just lift off the throttle, 680. So again, sign of a good 200 cell sports cat.
Yeah, which is what this car's running, isn't it?
Yep. It can manage the temperatures. Now, granted, we've just done a power run. We've been talking for at least a couple of minutes, and the car's been on the entire time since we've been in it, in what is quite a warm day and quite a hot dyno cell.
Yeah.
And the car's showing 31, 32 degrees on it for ambient at the moment, but our EGTs have been managed lovely.
Yeah.
So nice and smooth and progressive. Again, let's look at our mass airflow. So this is a really, really key one. If we're starting to see fluctuations or surging on our turbo, it's struggling to hold the boost. Maybe there's a split in a pipe or something somewhere. Doing a full power sweep isn't always going to show it because the air traveling through so quickly. There's so much noise, vibration on the car, you might not hear it. Actually, at a slower speed with constant loading, if we start to see fluctuations, drops,
stick out.
It's going to stick out and be very noticeable on there. So, yeah, really, really powerful piece of software on there. And again, we can see our boost is constant, showing us 2.6 bar on there. So, of course, that's 1.6 bar of actual boost pressure.
Yeah.
Hasn't quite got the stage 4 turbo on it yet, although I am petitioning for that. But we can see the boost pressure really constant throughout. At one point, we've got literally 0.001 variation between what the ECU is requesting and what the actual engine's delivering, which means the mapping is absolutely spot on the car. Now you get a Katana 5 package, so it's a brilliant package on the car, but the software is doing exactly what it should do. And mechanically, the engine's doing exactly what we're expecting. So it's not requesting too much. It's not surging, trying to get to that value, nice and smooth and consistent. This is actually closer to real-world driving than doing a full power sweep on the dyno in a set gear.
Yeah.
You will hold constant load. Think your cruise control. The RPM's not changing much. You're at a constant sort of speed, but the loading will change as you go up a hill, down a hill, etc. So these tests are really useful. And again, can be easily mimicked on the road, obviously in safe conditions. So that's pretty much it on there, and it is a really powerful piece of software. Whilst we can't directly overlay different graphs, it kind of makes sense because there's so much information going on there.
Sure.
But you can open up a second browser and you can go and toggle between the two of them. So you a couple of screens, you can easily actually compare the data.
We touched on this earlier. How different is Powergate for this?
In terms of the data login, Powergate's very, very similar.
Yeah.
It's going to pull the data that's available on there through the channels. And again, the user can select what they want. So you've got to think of the Powergate as being a miniature version of the KESS. Even from the interface on the app, it is very similar in terms of how it works. It will log the data in a similar way, and again, uploads it for it to be seen for the end
But if
user.
you've got a customer that's, you know, in another country even, and they've got a problem, they're calling you up and saying, oh, since you tune my car, it does this at 40 miles an hour.
Yep.
There you go, plug this in, send me the data.
Share the logs, download the logs, and send it over, and you can view it.
Absolutely great. Absolutely great. Love it.
Yeah.
Anything else the guys need to know about data logging?
In terms of KESS3, I mean, that's it. All I can really recommend about it is you actually go and look at it and use it now. I would actually add one more thing on there. We've got it minimized at the moment. Data table. So those that are familiar with things like VCDS.com, a lot of the data loggers, it shows us the table. So the exportable table is actually shown at the bottom here. So if you prefer to read it in the table format, or you want to go and highlight a certain row of data and see what's happening on all channels there without sort of the graphical sort of noise, if you like, in the background, you can see it there, keeps your headings at the top, and you can literally scroll through all of the data that's shown on there.
Very, very nice. Now, obviously, we normally take live questions during these sessions. We've not been able to do that, obviously, while we're in the car and running. Let me just check with Paul now to see if we've got any questions. No, Paul is saying no, we haven't. That's fine. If you have any questions afterwards or something springs to mind, if you want to drop us an email, we're always here to help. You do, as I understand, your tool has got to be in subscription to have this. Is that correct?
Yeah, it does need to be in subscription. So, again, another great reason to obviously get your tool into subscription with some of the new protocols have been released of late as well. Just take advantage of it. It's a really, really powerful piece of software. I will add, I should probably put this out there. There are some vehicles that have very specific data logging. Okay. So I'm going to say something like the BMWs. There is a unique data set for the BMWs that is not generic data logging like a lot of tools and things out there are. The actual BMW channels have all been extracted and logged. So if you go into something like an M3 or something, the B58 engine, really popular for tuning that 3-litre petrol, it will come up with a BMW specific channels. So you'll actually have a bigger list to choose from, and not sort of some of the generic ones that are almost universal from car to car. Okay, and all completely free as long as your tool is in subscription. Yep. If you need any advice on that, or you're looking for some advice about either subscriptions or tool purchases, we're here to help with that. Training wise, Simon, let's just touch on what training courses we've got coming up, because we've got a couple of quite interesting ones. I think we've just set preliminary dates for Australia for the first time for Winnows training, and that is going to be in mid to late March in Sydney, Australia. Yes. And at which point I can then comment if it's hotter there than it is here at the same point. I think they might win. We're just coming out of their summer, so I think it's going to be warm. Let's hope that workshop has air conditioning. But next up for training is August, as soon as August, 6 weeks away from now, Florida. Yeah, we're in, I would say West Palm Beach. Yeah. In Florida, just up from Miami. We're running 2 training courses. We have the gasoline course running from the 10th to the 12th, and then 13th through to the 15th, to get my dates right. We have our heavy diesel course. So that was a massively oversubscribed course previously when we ran that in April. We're running the same course again on the east coast of the US now for all those that couldn't make it, covering, it's a really in-depth course, 6 ECUs across heavy commercials. This is your off-road and on-road trucks, like the Peterbilt, your Kenworth, things like that, construction, and agri as well. So a number of ECUs covered there. And of course, the gasoline one as well before that, covering a number of different gasoline ECUs, but taking you through the logic and the theory of gasoline tuning, but obviously how to use Winnows as well to sort of empower yourself as a tuner, to give you the freedom to make your files the way you want to. Nice, nice. So that is Florida for August. That's Florida for August. Diesel, I know, is booking up fast. And then we're straight into SEMA. SEMA is 100% confirmed. We will be on our show stand there all week. If you're coming to SEMA, we'd love to see you. We're answering questions live, of course, on the stand. We're also going to do some webinars live from the stand. Really, really would love to see you. Drop by and see us. But of course, we're offering training around SEMA too, both before and after. But anyway, enough of the sales pitch. You know who we are. You know what we do. Drop us an email if you've got any questions at all. And as always, keep tuned, guys. Simon, it's good night from me. That's good night from me. Cheers, guys. Thanks, everyone.